he is, but he asked me to sit in again for him. Okay, good, it's recording, so, all right, and hopefully all the technology works and we can move forward with the meeting. And, well, this was in honor of the sheriff, but he's on his way, so the honorary bell ringer is Sheriff Hamilton Bell, who was the chief law enforcement officer for Ford County, Kansas, better known for its county seat of Dodge City. The area was rife with lawlessness. It remains a thriving community in Southwest Kansas to this day as a result of his firm and steady hand and occasional use of pistol. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Rotarians, please recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships and be beneficial to all concerned? And next, our inspirational message by Ellen Brothers.
There's an attorney in the room, so I'm good. So there's been, it feels like unlimited amount of time here where we've been experiencing a lot of stress and a lot of negativity globally and domestic. I think our topic today with our speaker is going to be a little sobering as well. And the pandemic, while it's not the first, I'm sure, that created some isolation problems with people, it's certainly the most recent. And I certainly have determined that it's unnatural and it's not good for us. And it's been helpful to kind of hear people talk about being alone yet together, being united. And some of those things are the mantras you need to maybe remind yourself over and over, especially when things just feel so heavy. And true to human nature, it can bring out the worst in people, but it also brings out the best. And it's certainly important to remember to take care of yourself as you're taking care of others. I found this statement that I thought is a great reminder for all of us in our day-to-day. And I think it parallels the four-way test that I think we need to also direct it ourselves. Are we being truthful to ourselves? Are we being fair to ourselves? And I mean ourselves as individuals. Are we building goodwill within ourselves? Is what we're doing beneficial for ourselves? But we extend that to others. And this would be a nice four-way test for everyone, whether they're in Rotary or not. This is from Paul Boynton, The Power of Words, and the S is a Z. Sometimes we need a bridge, and sometimes we are the bridge. No one I know has escaped troubled waters, rough seas, and challenging, scary days. There are times in our lives when we could use a little help, and other times when we are given the chance to be that help for someone else. It really doesn't matter where you are right now. What matters is that you remember we are stronger together And taking a hand is just as important as offering one. Thank you.
We'll be back in about 15 minutes to start our program.
Send it to these guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so we do have some guests, it looks like, but I just want to make special note of a few people that we haven't seen in a while. Michael Dock joining us today, looking sharp as ever. And Nick Kramer, looking sharp as ever. Thanks for coming. And a few other people that we've seen coming back, so that's great to see you again. Is there any other visitors you'd like to introduce? Yes?
I have my cousin from Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
My cousin Lasha.
Hi,
And
Lasha.
when I've been to Ukraine, I've actually in her city, I've been to Rotary. With her.
Wow.
So, and maybe I touched you with the body of your body.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's here visiting, well, she's actually at her daughter's in New York. We got her here about a few weeks after the war started. And friends of hers, we're from the western part of Ukraine, so we're in the safer part, if you can say anything safe. But her friends from Kiev are staying in her apartment. She got them out of there fast. So there's 6 of them staying in a 1-bedroom apartment. So her daughter and I talked to her, because she said her visa was still good, we talked to her into coming here. And so she's here with me for a week, and then Sunday she's going back to her daughter. And everybody wants to go home. And if everything goes well, then she hopes to go back at the beginning of July. But we take it one day at a time, because God knows what Putin's going to do.
Okay,
So
thank
that's
you.
it.
Thank you, and welcome, and Ukrainian yellow. We did that just for you. Gene?
Yeah, I brought with me today my first wife. Yes, she's my only wife. But it is true, she is my first wife.
Thank you. Okay. Michelle?
Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia.
My grandparents, Czechoslovakia.
I wanted to get one up on Marie, so I brought.
All right, who wants to one up Hank? Ellen?
This is Gloria Chin. She is, she's been nominated by Teresa Williams to be a new member of the Rotary, so she's in that process right now.
Anyone else? No? Well, welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. All right, well, so we need to get this in quick before the sheriff shows up. Is he coming?
Yes, he'll be here within 3 minutes. So
Okay. All right, so, well, Fred normally takes a while, so this should be just fine. So yeah, before the sheriff gets here, let's play this game of skill in selecting numbers. It's nothing to do with gambling.
The genius, right? Remember. But you know, President George, I appreciate the fact that the Rotary Club continues to try to get me arrested and convicted. I've survived federal prosecutors, numerous police officers, judges.
Yeah, well, today could be the day. I mean,
And then I'm gonna do my best to, okay, yeah, copper, you'll never take me alive, yeah. But
that's a good thought.
yeah, we'll go for that.
All
in favor?
Do we have a trustworthy sergeant at arms that we could?
how about Nick, the way,
All right, I said trustworthy,
yeah.
not the first guy you saw. Okay.
I don't know, the way the market's been going.
He's honest.
That was a low blow there, Mr.
He's
Joel.
a Spartan, he's a Spartan dog, I'm gonna turn him up carefully, Nick.
You want to call it?
Yeah.
Oh, you can do it.
Oh, you can call it. You got the mic.
I got the mic. All right, 83702. All right,
back.
go
Welcome
back.
back and
Shows
welcome
up,
back.
takes the money and leaves. All right, next, second place.
Second place or first place loser. Nick.
I'll take it.
I think they call it the penultimate.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We'll do all this hard stuff here. 83678.
Ooh,
All right, our guest.
great. See, my table prospers with me
Yeah.
back.
Put that high up.
Wait, were you looking at the last one? Okay, oh, it's a folded one, so if you folded yours, you have a chance here. It's not me, it's 83721. 721, Dan Craig.
Good enough. Thank you, brother.
All right, Fred, what kind of car are you driving? We just want to make sure we can identify it.
When I get pulled
Get
over.
ready.
Yeah, fast.
Okay, so this is the last Friday of the month that we'll be meeting, and so we are going to do the May birthdays. And to do that is past president, Mike Chapey, or District Governor, Mike Chapey.
Thank you. Please join in congratulating these folks on their birthdays on May 2nd. Michael J. Thorpe and Michael Dock, 26 years with the club. Michael Dock, come on up with your dollar. Also on May 2nd was Bob Stabilski, 29 plus years with the club. On May 4th, yours truly. On May 24th, Father Jim. May 25th, Brian Sanderson. And on May 30th, Doug Bacon with 34 plus years in the club. So you all join in wishing those May birthdays a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. By myself. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarian. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, everyone. Last thing before I leave the podium, this last weekend, 4 of our Flint Rotarians participated in the downtown cleanup. It was a great day. It was President Kyle, myself, Dr. Bobby McCullough, and Anne Marie Van Dyne. Really made a difference. We painted graffiti for a couple of hours down at Riverbank Park, and it really made a difference. So hopefully next year when we announce this, you'll be able to join us. And Bobby, for your efforts, I have a Rotary hat for you.
And just to clarify, we painted over.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true. We painted over.
Throwing,
Now it's probably been replaced.
yeah, you guys are throwing Rotary gang signs up all over town. All right. Okay, time to start tap dancing. Our speaker is on the way. I'm not going to make Rick do a presentation, so we'll take a few more minutes. What's
If
that?
you have your cards filled out for general, Duncan, I will take those and.
Okay, so we'll take a few minutes here until the sheriff gets here and we'll start the rest of the program. So,
I just have to apologize, here the police officer from Royal. He should be here any minute.
Sure, no problem.
Sorry, very sorry.
That's right, no problem.
I tried for this for 20 years.
I can confirm, but
George, you want to sign this? Your pen?
I do, yeah.
So I guess while we're stalling for time, anybody got any fun plans this weekend?
I was hoping someone would get up and do impressions.
That's never gonna happen.
Okay. I'm attending I sit on the board for Ireland's Dream, and there's a big gala thing tonight that I'm going to, so that's what I'm doing.
Ireland's Dream?
Correct.
What exactly is that?
Ireland's Dream is a foundation started by my friend and is also a doctor. Her daughter has cerebral palsy, and the foundation.
Oh,
Yeah, she's actually spoke at our.
right.
Yeah. That was Megan, Dr. Strockman, Megan Strockman.
How is she doing?
Good. The little one or Megan?
The little one.
Yeah, Ireland. She just turned 10. I can't believe she's 10 now. You know, when I first met her, she was barely 2 years old. And growing like a normal kid grows and getting better.
Good.
Yeah, she actually has more mobility now too. They have her in one of those. I don't know if you guys remember, but when we were kids, we had a thing called the little wheel thing that you turn, you ride on.
Hot wheel?
What was that called? Anyway, she has something similar to that, and she can control it. So she gets around better now. She can go all around the house now, and yeah, it's kind of neat to watch her.
Where's the event being held?
It's at the Clarkston or the Pine Knob Carriage House in Clarkston.
All right, well, that was a double ring. We're ready to go, to get back to our program. So to introduce today's guest speaker, please welcome Flint Rotary Rick Hetherington.
Thank you, George. I was asked if I would introduce our speaker today. It's difficult for me to come up with things to say to introduce somebody that really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to give it a whirl anyway. I met our guest speaker a couple decades ago at least. Had the privilege of working side by side with him in law enforcement ranks and watched him progress his way through the sheriff's department. And now he is our Genesee County Sheriff. Sheriff Swanson attended Mont Community College. He also attended the University of Michigan. Go Bears. I don't think I need to go through the whole list of awesome things that he's done since he's been sheriff, but I'll touch on a couple that I think are pretty big and important. 2019, Sheriff Swanson started the GHOST team, and I think we've all heard about the success that the GHOST team has had in the last several years. In 2020, he was able to make another one of his visions come true by starting the IGNITE program in the Genesee County Jail, which provides educational opportunities for the inmates and job training. And it's been very successful as well. And of course, last but not least, obviously in 2020, during a period of complete civil unrest throughout our country, Sheriff Swanson was able to diffuse a potentially volatile situation right here in Flint, Genesee County that made national news by walking hand in hand with the advocates for Black Lives Matter. And so without further ado, Sheriff Chris Swanson.
Do we have any huge super ghost fans? Any big ghost fans that watch what we do? You're gonna want to say yes, like anything what we do. Oh, yeah. There you go. Raise your hand. You get a ghost shame. Oh, shame on everybody else. Raise their hand. Shame on everybody else. Well, I could not do what I do without people in this room. There's so many faces that I recognize, but I always give honor to our board chair, Dominic Clements. That board, if you don't understand sometimes county government, they fund the good work that we do, and we're just one of many county businesses, but it's the relationship that we have with 9 commissioners that allow us to do the things that you just heard and many more. My undersheriff, Mike Takarczyk back there, who I have known since I was 18 years old. And I learned from my predecessor that the #1 quality of an undersheriff, no matter where you are in the country, is loyalty. And that man is loyal, and I appreciate that because I was loyal to my predecessor for 21 years under his command. But it has been an incredible journey since 2019, right? Was appointed as the sheriff on December the 23rd, and I have been in this community for my whole life. I am a Mont Bear. I went to U of M to get my bachelor's, went to Ann Arbor to get my master's. I've been on faculty at.
I think we need microphones so people home can hear.
Oh, I didn't know that. We're at home. Nice. We're virtual. All right. Well, I hope you heard that loud. I'm gonna have to be. I'm gonna have to contain myself behind here then. So, hi everybody at home. How about that? Very cool. But the amount of movement that I've been able to do here in Genesee County is only because of the people that have poured into me. And Judge Beagle, who set this up and allowed me to be here today with many other options. We're going to go over a topic that he asked me to speak on, and it's a heavy topic. And I'm going to open up to questions, but I'm only going to go 10, 15 minutes, but it's one that is very real to us, not just here in Flint, Genesee County, but for those that are from Buffalo, for those that are in Florida or California, for those that were in Las Vegas on 1 October 2017. Because all of us, law enforcement, non-law enforcement, university, community college, Tops supermarket, it doesn't matter. We are all in a different world. And when you look at the threats against a civil order, it comes from people that are the most dangerous, and they are called the lone wolves. These are individuals that seek to bring terror and violence and death, sometimes because of an ideology that we know, but other times an ideology that we do not know. The best reaction, the best offense is having a great defense. So when the judge asked me to speak on a topic of active shooters, I know it's not a pleasant topic. I mean, the things that we've been able to do with Ghost and Ignite, I mean, Ignite now being in 7 states and rolling throughout the nation as the standard for jails in America, right here in Flint. Our Ghost team that has worked with 41 counties throughout the state of Michigan out of 83. Those are great things, but you have to understand the reality that this can happen. If you looked at the names of the individuals killed in Buffalo, they were the average age between 55 and 65. So you can't even say, well, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not. It doesn't matter. None of us are immune to the potential violence. So how do we counter that? Well, these are the simple things, but before I give them to you, I want to tell the story. Now, we've experienced violence, and anybody in law enforcement, and Rick is a retired police officer, and people have been around for a long time. Flint's had its fair share of bruises. But when you look at others and you can learn from them, it really helps you prepare. Should it ever happen here, we know exactly what we're doing. Now, there's great law enforcement in our county that are constantly training, constantly preparing, and when things happen, we respond. Our friends down in Oxford, do you know when the Oxford high school shooting happened, that shooter did not choose to stop. The shooter had no more targets. It had more bullets, but that shooter ran out of targets because the schools, working with the community, the teachers, the students, they knew exactly what to do if there was an active shooter. They had practiced it, they planned it. They didn't think about it that day, but they knew exactly what to do. And it saved countless lives. Albeit lives were taken. The credit goes to the teachers, the schools, the students, the SROs that had prepared when they never thought it would happen. You can't think that it will never happen to you, because as law enforcement, I will testify that you always respond in chaos how you train in peace. You always respond in chaos how you train in peace. And today's one of those training grounds. So when you're out and about, and you are in groups like this, or you're at the mall, or you're at the store, or you're in another state, it's important that you remember these kinds of moments, because it is the surprise attack that the lone wolf is counting on. The lone wolf is counting on it for us to never think it's going to happen in this particular setting. And I certainly don't want you to go around thinking this guy is falling. But it's just like when you leave here today. If not everybody is going to get into a vehicle, and you're going to leave this place. You're going to leave Lapeer Road. You're going to travel Door Highway 69. We all know that people die from car accidents. Innocent people can get hit at traffic lights, but we still drive because we know the risk and reward. This is no different. It's not to be scared. It's not to think that you have no freedom. It's simply to be aware. At 10 o'clock at night on the 1st of October, there was a concert that was going on right outside the Mandalay Bay. And there was an individual who checked in 6 days before the concert. He had already prepped the scene at another venue at the Ogden Hotel. And at the same time, he rented the 32nd floor, room 135, 134. It's a roundabout because he was such a high roller that he was able to get an end unit that had a 200-degree view of the entire concert ground. Right just east of the concert area is the airport. If you've ever flown into Las Vegas or you ever plan to, you will see the 2 fuel tanks that he shot in an attempt to explode. You will see the memorial that used to be a concert venue right there fenced in, never to be used again. You'll see the Mandalay Bay. So what happened is that shooter, who's 67 years old with no criminal history whatsoever, no ideology, no religious ideology, no political ideology. To this day, investigators still don't know the cause. He scoped the place out. He had 2 houses in Nevada. He wasn't even from there. He's originally from California. Did really well in commercial real estate. Was gambling $80,000 to $100,000 a night on the slots, high roll in slots. He had everything. He had his fiancée from the Philippines that was with him for 6 years. She was out of the country. He wired her $2 $50,000 wires the day before and said, "This is for your new home." All the while, nobody knew that this lone wolf was about to attack innocent people. On that evening at 10 o'clock, when Jason Aldean took the stage, at 10:06, people started to hear what they thought were fireworks, jackhammers. And at that time, the shooter, who doesn't even deserve their name mentioned in this talk, used a sledgehammer from Home Depot to break out the window of the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. In those 2 rooms, he had laid out not only 9 long guns, but tens of thousands of rounds in 100-round drums. For the last 6 days of him getting there, he had access to the rear of the hotel, the service elevators, because at that level, everything was comped. And high rolling gamblers, they get a little bit different status. And so the bellhops and the valets assisted him in bringing all that luggage up to his room over a 6-day period, not knowing that it was weapons and ammo, not knowing that he had gas systems built in and he had surveillance systems. This individual was a melancholy. He loved numbers and he was very technical. And he started throughout that week to build out his barracks. He put on the doors where the peepholes are cameras to see down the hallways. In fact, if you go and see photos, you'll see where the stairwell comes up on the 32nd floor on the north wing. There's 100 yards straight to where his double door opened up to the suite that he had comped. So that camera was looking right down the service elevator, right down the hallway to where people would respond. And shortly after 10:06, after the first rounds took place, only by God's grace did something happen right next to the shooter's door. There was a couple that traveled to Las Vegas and they had a young infant. So they brought a nanny and they got the room across the hall on the 32nd floor. And they left their infant with the nanny next to the room of the shooter. Well, the nanny had to, at the exact same time, go across the hallway into a room to grab a personal item and left the infant door cracked. Well, the rooms in Las Vegas are the most technologically advanced rooms in America. And so they can test pressure, they understand body heat, they assimilate all that environment to the people in the room to make it so comfortable that they stay awake so they can gamble more. So there's a 120-second alarm that goes off. And the security guard from Mandalay Bay was dispatched within minutes before the shooting to the 32nd floor to find out why this alarm was going off, a standard alarm. As that security officer went to the 32nd floor and tried to grab the door from the stairwell, he couldn't get through. There was something that was jammed on the other side. He could hear and feel the lock turn, but could not get any farther. He called on his radio for maintenance to come down, who was on the 43rd floor. And as the maintenance worker was coming down, the security officer heard that jackhammer, as he thought, not knowing that there were already victims killed at the concert venue. They started to make their way. They couldn't do it because unbeknownst to them, the shooter had gone to Home Depot and prepared for this moment and bought a simple L bracket and with 4 cheap screws bracketed the door shut. They went to the 34th floor, they came up the elevator as the doors opened. The camera that was already set up alerted the shooter. He put 110 rounds through the door down the hallway and shot the security guard in the hip. Dispatch information from inside the hotel identified the shooter, not knowing he was shooting on the outside. Shots fired, Mandalay Bay, 32nd floor. Officer down. At the same time that's happening, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, which is the 5th largest police department in the country, an extraordinary, well-run police department. The Las Vegas Metro and the Sheriff's Office combined many years ago, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department run by an elected sheriff. Those officers that heard the shots fired were also getting dispatch information that there was an active shooter, and they started putting things together almost instantaneously. They go into the hotel, they have a go bag, they go up to the floors. You can actually see videos, law enforcement sensitive videos of the officers that are going to the 32nd floor, knowing now that after the 110 rounds were thrown down the hall, the shooter turned back to the crowd where 22,000 people went to the concert. In 11 minutes, the shooter fired 1,046 rounds. As they breached the door with an explosive breach, and they saw that there were different traps that have potentially been set, they found the coward with a self-inflicted gunshot wound from a .38 revolver. Of course, you can't just stop there, because this same kind of scenario happened in Mumbai, where they had multiple distractions and they were driving innocent people to different locations where they had different kill spots using explosions and fire. So although that one threat was over, there remained more threats. In addition to that, you already had 58 people that lay dead in a 3.5-mile crime scene. Because once the shots happened, that 17-acre field became a 3.5-mile area. There was no way to get emergency vehicles in because the walking wounded. But not only did 58 turn into 60 dead over the next several months, 420 people were shot, 800 people wounded. There's not an EMS system in the country that can handle that overwhelm. There are 7 hospitals in Las Vegas Valley, and of those 7, 4 of them are what we call level 1 trauma centers. Hurley is a level 1 trauma center. McLaren is a level 1 trauma center. Think of having a hospital such a capacity, but nobody can treat 800 wounded. Some were wounded because what we call is crowd crush, where people are in a pinch point, they can't go any farther, but people are trying to escape. Over the next several days and weeks, you had officers and firefighters and EMS and many people come from all over the country to assist the investigation as well as the healing process of Vegas. Everybody in the community, the sports world, from the NFL to the NHL, they embraced that city and they started the healing process called #VegasStrong. Now, this is going to be 5 years ago this October, the incident happened. I saw a quick glimpse of that. Now, we certainly didn't have an active shooter, but on December 21st, the undersheriff and I were having a meeting with County Board Commissioner Dominic Clemens. We were in my office conference room, and as one of my deputies passed behind us in a window, I could hear and sense that something wasn't right. Dominic had a better view than I did. I could sense that it wasn't so right that I got up from my seat, I turned around, and the only thing I could have heard from Deputy Stacci was, E26 is shot, the suspect is down, Burton officer shot, everybody's going to the hospital. That's all I know. On that day, this community was wounded. You had a young 22-year-old that had a mental health breakdown, dead. You had a brand new paramedic sheriff's deputy shot 3 times, once in the gun belt, once in the vest, and once right above the vest that took out his right lung. Then you had the Burton officer shot multiple times in the lower legs. The undersheriff and I dispatched to the hospital. We had a scene commander there was over 128 police officers that responded to all those scenes. As we progressed through that day and in facting through the amazing work of Hurley, Dr. Newblatt, Dr. Beer, within 45 minutes, our young deputy whose chest was cracked, that they took out the upper lobe of his chest. His wife was there. We started the investigation. We started the healing process. I say all that because I didn't pick that day to be the day that we would address that kind of a scene. I saw chaos happen until we were able to organize that chaos. I saw fire departments and EMS and community leaders come together. I saw people that were sending great words of encouragement and hope. I saw a county board come together and say, whatever you need, Sheriff, nothing is more important than taking care of our employee, not my deputy, but our employee. I saw families come together. I saw families that were divided that came together because of a common factor. And I say that because what we experience, whether it be in Las Vegas or Buffalo or here in Burton City, when people are injured, it's not just the police, not just the chiefs or sheriffs, not just the physicians, it's all of us. Because it doesn't happen in our backyard, or you don't recognize the pictures that are coming from Buffalo, it doesn't mean that we can't, we shouldn't think about how we would respond if it was our family or friends as one of those photos. You can never forget what they experienced in that, although news travels and dies fast within hours, because it's not in our area, they're still dealing with trauma. There are people in this room and watching right now that are still dealing with trauma from the past. I can assure you this, my role as a sheriff is a great role. I love it. I have great honor to be your sheriff, but there's a bigger role for me to play, because this is a position I hold, but not the person that I am. The moment on May 30th that Mike and I experienced in 2020, the world got to see what our hearts are. The world got to see it. It was the right thing to do. You can't train for that. It's a daily investment. And at that moment, within 24 hours, it reached 3.2 billion people around the world in 24 hours. So we can't even say that great things can't come out of Genesee County. We can't say that it won't happen to us. But I leave you with this, and I'll open up for questions. What we can say is it's going to take all of us. It's absolutely going to take all of us. And there's a message that if you ever see a sheriff car, you'll see on all three sides of our cars. It's a simple decal that we have to remind us that the same thing I ask of myself, I ask of you. Whatever level of influence you have, whatever position you hold, you're not here at this meeting by accident. You're not a Rotarian because you don't have a selfless heart. I already know your heart. You're here. And that is to protect those who can't protect themselves. The vulnerable, the addicted, the mentally ill, the elderly, the inmates. I have a duty to protect those that are in the Genesee County Jail, numbering 610 this morning. They are sons and daughters, moms and dads. Yes, they made decisions that we don't agree with as a society, but I have an obligation to protect them just like I do anybody else. Number two is to serve. Servant leadership is what this nation demands of its leaders. When you look at the greatest leaders that have ever walked the stages around America, the ones the people believed in, the ones they see authentic, are those that have a servant leadership mindset. Their pronoun is not I, but is we. They figure out what we can do for each other. That's service. There's no time limit. There's no days off. There's no weekends or holidays. Protecting and serving for those that are lifted up to be servant leaders is 24/7. You can never let off the gas. Only 1% of our population embrace that. And that's why the 99 follow the one. And I'm speaking to the one today. But that third discipline, that's what really will bind this nation, this state, and this county. It will heal wounds that are broken from religious views and political views, past injuries from words spoken that have caused great harm, races that have been split, people that haven't talked to in years, and that is unity. Unity. See, unity doesn't mean that you have to agree with everybody. Unity doesn't mean that they have to be exactly the way you and I are. But I can tell you one thing, I can find good in everybody I come across if I wait long enough and I ask enough questions and I listen. You see a crowd of thousands on May 30th where we were outnumbered 50-1. There's only one thing they wanted. They wanted to be heard. And when they were asked the question, there's only one thing I needed to do, and that is to listen. And that's what I'm asking for you to do today. Listen. Wherever you are, protect, serve, and unify. Thank you. You can literally ask me anything. Yes, Dr. Bobby, I'm sorry, you shot your hand up first.
Thanks for being here, Chair. My question has to do with folks with substance use disorder. From the medical side, we see that as a medical condition. Addiction is a medical condition. But we sort of got stuck in this rut over the course of a generation of punitive action for a mental health condition. It's not something that you can imprison out of somebody, right? It's not something that you can correct by imprisonment. Instead, it's a medical condition that needs treatment. So I'm just kind of curious about how your thinking on substance use disorder and mental health has changed over the years, if it's changed, and you know, harm reduction centers, getting people treatment for their addiction instead of incarceration, or even if they're incarcerated, getting them access to treatment while incarcerated if they did commit a crime. Just your philosophy about folks with mental health, particularly substance use disorder.
So there's a lot to unpack, and I'll be quick. And I will tell you this, jails across America, because I know this, I travel across America and I relate to my fellow sheriffs. In the Genesee County Jail, I've got data to prove it, that 9 times out of 10, and 9 out of 10 people that come to the Genesee County Jail are addicted or co-addicted, meaning that they are coming in under the influence of alcohol, or they have alcohol and either methamphetamine and heroin, which are their top 2, or some type of pill. Rick deals with them all the time, as well as a defense attorney, addicted or co-addicted. 6 out of 10 have some type of mental illness in the Genesee County Jail. We are treating 6 out of 10 inmates with some type of psychotropic medications. I know this because we get an inventory of those medications from our medical department. Half the people in the Genesee County Jail prior to Ignite, we've raised it 1 grade, cannot read. Grown adults that cannot read street signs, menus, directions. And then on top of that, you have a system where we do criminalize because we look at the cause and not just the effect. We look at what happened, and we sometimes forget, like, how did it get from here to here? Nobody wakes up as a student in high school and think, I cannot wait to be a heroin addict. I cannot wait to be stricken with the same mental illness that my mother or dad. I can't wait to be depressed because some decisions I made or some circumstances I was given. And I think, Dr. Bobby, your point is well taken, that you cannot look at 1002 South Saginaw Street and those 5 stories, and because nobody's ever been in jail in your family, or you've not experienced, and I don't believe this is the case in this room, because we've all been touched by some type of mental illness or some type of drug addiction, that because it's not my kid, be not my family, I'm just going to drive right by. I think we've got to be well aware that this is a systemic issue that doesn't just affect jails, but it also affects the workplace, families, schools. And you have to destigmatize mental illness. If you are sick tomorrow and wake up and you've got a sinus infection, it is a physical illness that we will go get a Z-Pack, we'll go get treatment. If it's a virus, we'll treat the symptoms. There's no stigma in that. People post it on social media, they post this. That's because your body is ill. But when that 3.5 pounds of matter that doesn't move, that's in your skull is ill, that's the stigma we need to break. And everybody here has experienced a season of life, or maybe you look at things a little bit more bleak, or things aren't as exciting as they used to be. And if you don't have a process in place, if our community is not built to help you get through that, it doesn't mean it's permanent, but at that point, it is the most important thing in the world, is to get our head right so we can be mass successes in the future, which is the reason why I started Ignite. It was an idea that came to give people value back, to give them a second chance to say, this is what you did because of these, let's change these, and now look where you're gonna go. And we have experienced 14 graduations, not graduates, graduations. We have people looking at us now, if they don't have any place to turn, if they have no relief, they're gonna go right back to what's comfortable for them. So my philosophy is very progressive. My philosophy is bold, and anybody who disagrees, I always respond by saying, it's not important because that's not your kid. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the goals in the past. Let me ask you, is there more human trafficking, and followed by, are you guys getting better at catching it?
Yes, sir. I love that question, because when we started Genesee Human Oppression Strike Team, I worked in concert with David Layton, our fearless prosecutor. We are co-laborers in justice. We had Tammy Phillips come over, and before we started, lay out what entrapment is. How do we work with our defense community? I work with not only Rick Hetherington, but a lot of the defense attorneys, because we're not trying to force anything. We want people to be held accountable, but ultimately be identified and give victims voices. So we really, out of the gate, made sure that we put quality cases together. We also know that if you do something and you do it well, share it with others, because our predators that come in to hurt our young people do not just come from Genesee County. In fact, the majority of them come from outside the county. So it made sense to work with the other counties, because they travel sometimes up to 100, 150 miles. That's why we've worked with 41 sheriffs across the state to do 41 different operations. There's concept teams from Monroe County to Shiawassee to the UP. And what we found is when we identify people, and if you've ever seen one of our briefings, I don't demonize or I don't demean the individual. I'm very stern, because I know there's many times, and it's happened countless times over, there's a person on the other end of that screen and the other end of that audio that has been hurt by this individual. And by them being held accountable, it gives them the courage to come forth. And that's the spinoff cases that we have that have really come around. We had one incident where we had a former, and trust me, I arrested one of my own, so it's not to tag another police department, but there was a Flint City Canine officer who I just done a detail with at the machine shop. Little did I know, he's been raping his stepdaughter. And when we pulled him out and we were able to hold him accountable, there were 2 other victims that came forth. 3 total. He's in prison now for 15 to 25 years. Like that's not who we are as cops. And when we do these investigations, we do them because we want to make them quality. And the members of Ghost are from me all the way down. Since we started Ghost, we've arrested 154 predators. We've not lost a single motion. We've not lost a single Walker hearing, a single trial. We have a 100% confession rate and a 100% conviction rate. Two more. Yes, sir. You mentioned how you caught one of your own, with another cop from the department.
Right.
And I've seen that a couple of times. And every time I see that, I kind of go, how can you be on the inside and still be doing this? My question is the catching that individual more difficult on your end, as far as you can tell, or less difficult because they're right there? And then just what is that like, that whole process when it's somebody that close to you? So I'll answer it this way, and that is that the predators that we deal with using online platforms are really, really good. Just like the shooter from Vegas, majority of them have never had any police contact, not even a traffic stop. And the average age is in their 30s and 40s. So this isn't something that they start. Do you know that people that are convicted of sex crimes, right? It's the only conviction in the state of Michigan and in the country where after they do their debt to society, their fines, their time, they still have to be on a register. It's the only one. Sometimes 25 years up to life. So they become really good at suppressing a devious mind in order to take advantage of people that cannot make a decision for themselves or protect themselves. When it's somebody who actually wears a uniform that we wear, we become even more aggressive in crushing them. Because just like in other circumstances, and we could go on for some time, when you give everything for this profession, when you miss soccer games and birthday parties, and I'm not trying to be a martyr as a police officer, but it is a very difficult field to be in. It's something that we are becoming better. And I think the protests in 2020, I've said it, it's caused us to evolve better. But you have a lot of pressure. A 1 month deputy or an officer has to make the same decisions as a 30-year veteran on the same call with no mercy from the community. So when it's some of us that are doing it from the inside, a Todd Baracco, a Benjamin, we go after them even more. We just arrested with Kalamazoo County. We assisted them. They had a Western Michigan police officer from the university, Western Michigan University. In the chat, he's telling the decoy that he thinks is 15, I'm a police officer. This could kill my career. I just want to be careful. You're not the police. Here's how we in law enforcement, they may be wearing our same badge and uniform, but they are not us. And we hold them accountable. So I have no mercy. And I think as the sheriff, I've made it very clear that when we have something that goes wrong in our own agency, that's what got people frustrated back before George Floyd, is there was no accountability. It was the blue wall of silence. I put it out there. And I say, listen, if you can't train it out, discipline it out, cut it out, fire and charge. Quick follow-up to that. How long is that process usually take from the first point of contact?
So a perfect example is Ghost case. We were chatting him and he was working the floor 20 feet above us. And once we got him in our chats to cross over the probable cause threshold, we pulled him off the floor, and that was at 6 o'clock at night. He confessed by 7 o'clock. We had a search warrant and a signed consent for his house. His young fiance, bless her heart, had no idea. We searched the house. He was fired that evening and he was charged the next day. The individual that tortured and executed the dog from Saginaw, this guy was working for us for 42 days. I met him one time, but when I got the call from Saginaw County that he had taped the back legs and the front legs and the muzzle of a dog who was a service dog and then shot it 3 times in November of last year, and we hired him in January of this year, I ate it. I took it. That's not who we are. He was not only fired that night, but he was transported, arrested, and they charged him with 7 felonies. They are not who we are. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is more of a personal question for me. Can you explain the process of helping your deputy or a police officer in the case of Brandon, and what you have aligned and how you can help the family? I don't think that story is told, and if it can be, would you just share a little bit about how you were able to assist them?
So I always look at an officer who was killed in line of duty or injured as a fabric of our society that has taken a blow, that has been injured. When everybody's life goes sideways, there's 3 numbers in this nation you call, and we will always show, and that is 911. So when a member of 911 gets injured or killed in line of duty, that community of law enforcement wraps around them and their family like no other profession I've ever been a part of. Law enforcement and their funerals are the largest funerals in America, because it's not just for the fallen, it's for what that fallen officer stood for. And that is the line between order and chaos. And when that line is injured or killed, I think all of us with a good heart and the love for people want to embrace that, to say, we as a society are going to hold that family up for the sacrifice. We do that for the military and our foreign lands. When it happens here domestically, we do that. But specifically for Brandon Facting, this guy was on his own for just 6 months. He had just graduated from police academy. He's a young father, and immediately we embraced the family with his wife and his kids. We assign deputies to every member of the family. We put a marked car at the house because there are evil people that know that if somebody is preoccupied, they will raid that house, they will steal, no matter what the community, because they know police officers have guns and have ammo. So we secure the house. We let mom know that your home is secure, because a spouse of a police officer who's dealing with that injury
has to know that their castle is protected. Their children can go home. They never moved for 60 days without a police officer escorting them wherever they needed to go. The 100 Club, which many of you are either a part of or know, it's a business organization that's been around for many, many years. Within 9 hours, we delivered them a $10,000 check. Ironically, in the ER, with Brandon Facting having a chest tube out of his right side and his wife coming in who did EMS as well, within minutes, at December 21st, she said, I don't know what I'm gonna do about Christmas for my kids. The presence of mind as a mother to remember that I still have to take care of my kids. As her husband's laying there, we took care of that need. There was not a day that went by that we didn't have a rotating guard on the hospital, that we continued the investigation, but more came in. And our friends from all over the community, through Elga Credit Union, they developed a fund and people wanted to give, they want to do something, which is something that I am amazed every single time. We had one lady, she was in her 80s, go to the credit union on Center Road and put down a $10 bill and said, would you please give 5 to Brandon and 5 to Dalton? That's a big deal. And I will tell you this, we will continue to honor them. And the best honor you can give to somebody like Brandon or Dalton or Colin Burney, who was killed on February 2nd of this year, is to keep doing what we're doing and get better at it. We just came from the police memorial, which is the reason why I was delayed. On May 15th, 1962, John F. Kennedy signed in to law that May 15th is National Law Enforcement Memorial Day. And because last year we had loss in our own community, Colin was recognized, and we continue to do that. There are many, many little things that are taken care of, from toiletries. There have been, and I'm just being humble when I say this, thousands of hours donated by law enforcement with no pay to make sure the family knew they were taken care of. Thank you.
One question online, it said that, let's see, Ed Fletcher completed his ghost training in March and wondering when he's gonna get his certificate.
So, Ed, we
it's
got
more than
you.
that.
Under Sheriff Ed Fletcher. We'll write that down. But, you know, we get so much. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give you a ghost keychain. Does anybody know Ed Fletcher?
No, we don't.
Do you know where he lives? Seriously, give me his address. You don't do it because I don't know if Ed's got enemies in the room, so I don't want the enemies to know where he lives. But can somebody get that address to me, Dr. Bobby? Do you know where it is? It's okay. Ed, we got a special prize for you. But you know, oh yeah, we'll go in there with raid gear, we'll make his neighbors talk. That's right. But the Ghost Certified program, I encourage everybody to do. One thing about human trafficking is not only the enforcement side of it, but also the education awareness and the aftercare. So there's a long story. What I did is I created a certification program that have no cost. You can go to our website, gcsomichigan.com. You'll see it right on the front page of that site. And you take and watch 3 videos, 2 town halls and an intro video by me. The town halls deal with inside the mind of a predator, and also it deals with the platforms used. After you watch those videos, there's a study guide. You answer 30 questions, and it's auto-populated that your test is generating a certificate that I sign, and it's mailed to you with a sticker, so people know that you are aware of grooming and you're aware of what human trafficking is. And we have done it for hundreds and hundreds of people in the county. The only reason we're a little behind is we had such an overwhelming response that we ran out of really cool folders, and I love to be class act, first class. And we have those printed at Kendall Printing, and they should be in there within a week. So I know we have people that have not received their certificates, and we are making sure that that happens. Ed Fletcher, you get the golden certificate. GCSOmichigan.com. Appreciate it. I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to leave you, since you all are Rotarians and you are perpetually optimistic, that this is how I am 24/7 wherever I go. And I love life. I drink it up, and I'm just getting started. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate the honor. I never take it for granted. I worked my whole life. When I was 18, I knew I was going to be the sheriff. When I set my mind on something, it's done. It may take me 27 years to get there, but it's done. My commitment to you is I'm going to continue to do this. Whatever influence, whatever platform I have, I'm going to protect, serve, and unify. I'll never ask anything of you that I don't ask of myself. Thank you.
Gonna jump in here real quick and try to absorb some of that. I could be here a while. That's awesome. Thank you, Sheriff Swanson. Appreciate you coming again. Great presentation. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let's see. No. Okay. Awkward transition. Okay. Thank you for your service. Ellen Brothers, thank you for your inspirational message. Rick, thanks for coming in. You were this close to making a presentation today. Thank you for doing that. Kristen Moore Burks is taking our bulletin notes. Bob Sabilski, well, he had good intentions. And Marissa Pierce, I'm not sure if she was there, but I know Elizabeth is helping out. Elizabeth is feeling a little ill, so we were going to do a tag team today, but she wasn't able to, so maybe next time. And hang on just a second. All right, Rob, you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, we're gonna be meeting with the holiday weekend, we're gonna be meeting at White Horse, and Tammy, who's our traditional server, needs to know roughly how many people come, so we don't tell her 20 is coming and only 5 show up, we tell her 5 is coming and 26 show up. So for those of you who are here, how many of you are planning to attend? All right, keep your hands up. 12, 13.
I don't know yet.
Okay, and make sure you also call in to,
To let them know if they're coming?
yeah,
You can email Kyle.
email Kyle.
That's usually what we do. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for taking care of that. So yeah, next week is already Memorial Day weekend, isn't it? All right, that's it. Well, Kyle should be back. He's only got a few more meetings to go, and then it's Elizabeth's turn. So with that in mind, serve to change lives, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Oh.